The Gambling Regulation Bill is a proposed piece of legislation. It is not yet in force, but is currently passing through the legislature. When it comes into force, it will reform and consolidate existing gambling legislation to introduce a single governance framework for the regulation of gambling for the first time in Irish law. The bill also paves the way for the establishment of a new regulator, the Gambling Regulatory Authority of Ireland, or the GRAI. Since the bill is not yet in force, this regulator has not yet been established. This vlog is intended specifically for a charities audience to bring to your attention some aspects of the bill which will apply once in force to charities. We are bringing these proposals to your attention now because charities will need to be aware of them once they become law. Under the new bill, some activities which might not be understood as gambling by charities will require a licence from the GRAI. One of the categories of licence that can be granted by the GRAI is a licence for a charitable or philanthropic purpose. The specifics of exactly the kinds of charitable fundraising activity that will require a licence will be prescribed by the GRAI once up and running. This means that we don't yet know exactly the type of fundraising activity that will require to be licensed. Based on the definitions in the bill, we do know, however, that this will include lotteries such as a bingo or raffle or a prize draw. Games of skill or chance that involved hazarding a guess of future events will also be included. Any charity or not-for-profit wishing to host this type of fundraiser event may be required to first seek and obtain a charitable licence from the GRAI. There is a welcome allowance in the bill that allows certain small lotteries to be carried out without the need for a charitable licence. That option will be available to charities and non-profits for raffles with maximum winnings of up to €2,000 in value, where a maximum of 1,500 tickets are sold and where tickets cost no more than €5. However, if you are a charity that routinely runs this kind of fundraising event, you should be aware that the new bill, as drafted, will mean that this kind of activity can't be carried out without a licence from the GRAI. The bill also introduces certain protections that are aimed at safeguarding consumers, problem gamblers and children. These protections are aimed at gambling operators, but could also lead to unintended consequences for the charity sector. For example, a licence-holding charity or sports club could be banned from producing or distributing any material or merchandise that contains the charity's logo or branding at an event at which children might be present or that might be used or worn by a child. This is because, although a charitable licence will be subject to different conditions than a typical gambling licence, the wider protective provisions of the bill will apply in the same way to charities as they will to large betting companies. Charities should be aware that the bill also introduces a ban on TV or radio advertising of gambling activity between the hours of 5:30 a.m. and 9 p.m, as well as an outright ban on social media advertising unless the targeted recipient has expressly opted in. While charities don't routinely run TV ads of this type, the radio restrictions and social media advertising ban are likely to be relevant and could affect some routine charitable fundraising activity. Charities won't be used to these kinds of restrictions applying to their fundraising activities, so we'll need to carefully consider which of the new rules might apply. Once enacted, this bill will consolidate the licensing and regulation of gambling in Ireland. The new rules are focused on public safety and protection and will be generally welcomed, especially by the many charities who exist to raise awareness and support for people affected by problem gambling. However, if enacted in its current form, the bill will also have a significant impact on how charities can conduct certain forms of fundraising activities. The bill is currently at committee stage in the legislative process, so further changes to the legislation are still possible. Our charities team will be closely monitoring these developments.